All right, Nick. Turns out the only guy that can convince David Bell to stay in the game is Luke Maley. Who knew? Hey, that's an out. Well, counts as a sacrifice fly for that guy, so everybody wins.
Oh, man. What a night.
I say we got a base open. Let's put
Pitch
somebody
around
on. Yeah, let's put somebody on.
Oh,
Yeah.
The airbender.
I'm telling you, he needs to throw the ball slower, guys. He's throwing it too hard. 65, 66, good hitting speed.
There it is. There it is.
That little 55-mile-an-hour in there, and that makes things a little tougher.
Oh, I gotta pause this. We gotta sync up. This is riveting.
Nice.
All right.
I just got the ball back. 1-2.
16, 15.
Those the rubber. 15, 14, 13, 12,
We're good.
11.
Yep, we're right on.
All right, fouls it off. 72. He tried to speed him up.
I love that he stayed in the game.
Yeah, he told David Bell, he's like, listen, dude, ain't nothing. I mean, what's Ty France going to do? Throw it a little bit? That hit him? No. Is he going to throw it in there a little bit better than me?
Now, I was at a Cleveland Chicago game in Cleveland, and they actually changed position players because the one guy got too tired. Oh my god. This is not helping the run differential, David. Come on, man.
I love this. This is hilarious. Hey, the run differential, it all counts the same in my book. Remember that? They all count the same.
Where we at now?
We just gave up everything we worked so hard for all year long, and
one game. We're down. Oh no, we're down to. No, we're not down to. We're down to plus 11. We're almost to single digits. Atta boy, Luke.
Come on, somebody call it.
Say that does not happen. Oh, someone just homered for Louisville. Is that a Vaughn Johnson? Oh yeah, nice swing.
Kerry, if I was in this game, I'd probably realize that just wasn't our day, and I'd probably be thinking about what I was going to do after the game at this point.
All right, boys, this is a great opportunity here to get about 5 back, chip back at that run differential.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, let's get a run to make sure we don't get shut out.
I mean, that would be embarrassing. Oh, Trace, how was your day?
It wasn't bad. I watched pretty much most of the first game. A good game. A pretty good game. And then, sadly, I did miss the first inning of Lowder. I don't know. I just got sidetracked, and then all of a sudden 640 came up faster than I thought. And but I did see that he kind of caught a break and kind of got out of a jam there. But we'll talk about it. We only have like 2 things to talk about, so I'll save that. Yeah, nothing else too crazy. It's like crazy. Is it hot? Is it as hot up there as it is here? It's like 100 and like the real feel today was like 105.
No, it was like 79 here.
What?
I mean, I live a mile from Lake Erie, though, so that helps.
I know. That's
quite
wild.
a bit.
79. That just means it gets much colder, obviously, when it's probably relatively warm here.
Yeah, it's just about a 10-degree difference, I think. Maybe give or take. It was in the mid 80s earlier this week. There was a day I got in my car. It said 95, so it was pretty hot still.
All right. Fetters is asking if should we start to worry about Maley's pitch count. Is he racking up too many innings for the year?
I don't know.
I think that's what David Bell came out and asked. If we're being honest, he probably was like, "Hey, I'm willing to take you out here. I don't want you to get out here." And Luke Maley said, "I'll wear it like a man." That's what he said.
No, I'm sure it doesn't want to get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. David Bell was just trying to make sure that Luke Maley wasn't discomforted.
A lot of times those position players pitching, it usually goes pretty quick. Like they give a home run, then fly ball, and it's usually not usually facing a team like the Brewers are just grinding out every single at bat.
Hey man, nobody wants to make an out there. You got a chance to get a nice easy hit. They all count the same.
Arbitration won't ask which game against Luke Maley.
Nope. Baseball Reference or StatCast or Fangraphs, none of them are asking.
Smash here by Milwaukee.
Pepper Westwood. I love our chat, man. They get the vibe. We're gonna ride this thing out tonight. But he said we're just a touchdown. We're a quick. What do you say? We're a quick score and on an onside kick away. You never know. Go for two, Ellie. Go for two. Why not? Oh, damn.
He's like, nope.
Our star is a star, though. I mean, what a superstar this kid is, man.
Little broken bat single.
Oh, man, he shredded that thing. So he still got that little, like, rubber knob at the end? I know they made him get rid of the technology that was in it, but I thought they made, like, a 3D mold of it so he could put it on there.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hit. Oh, it's foul. This is a big at-bat for Stevenson here.
Oh, yeah, the hit streak's on the line, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. What's a word? I love how we got some folks that come into the chat and let us know how bad our team is. Oh, we know. We know how bad they are. We're well aware.
I've watched 18 innings of this today, brother.
Yeah, well, I've watched how many games of this? Plenty of it, I can tell you. Stevenson, quit rolling over it.
Would it be rude to put Luke Maley on the box score? Would that be disrespectful?
You can put whatever you want on here, brother. I think at this point, the fact that we're on the air is in and of itself a pretty accomplished feat.
Hey, Luke didn't walk anyone though.
Nope.
Still's not walked us. Not walked anyone.
Made him earn it, man. That's a true warrior. Come on, Stevenson. Extend this.
Oh, come on. It's like I have a 13-game inning streak, and we're now 14-0, and you call that?
That umpire don't give a shit. He's like, hey,
oh,
buddy,
man.
You had 3 other at-bats to get one. That's 14-0. We've been out here in the 99-degree heat all day.
And Steven's like, so have I, man.
I would have said, you got to take a game off. That'll do it.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, goes wild. away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the nose. Oh, God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Trey Bruce.
Welcome in to the most abysmal, sad, pathetic, wild burning, hot trash of a day that we're going to call Chatterbox Reds on August 30th. There is one more day in August, so we'll see how it goes, but the month of August for the Cincinnati Reds in 2024 has been absolute, about as bad as one could think it could have gone at the beginning of the month. Nick, I'm going to say before we get started that we're men of integrity. I want you to know that I care. I want you to know that times are tough, and I'm well aware. But I got to be honest. The only thing saving me from quite frankly just saying, "Hey, I'll see you guys tomorrow," is the chat and the fact that I know that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be college football on TV, and that might just bring a little bit of joy to this really, really lonely heart that I have for sports. Nick, I would ask how you are, but I know it's really not that great when it comes to sports. Hopefully the personal life and everything else, can kind of keep afloat here. I want to say, lastly, I do feel for those that are having a tough time in their personal lives, and they're looking for sports as an escape. And really, they've done nothing but go from one area where they're looking for happiness to another, and the Reds are really a place that makes it worse. If you're going through a tough time, as always, you can call 988, text 988, and go to mantherapy.org as well. And listen, if you're a woman, mantherapy.org works for all if you punch it in. So, Nick, I know you're going to give a better effort than me tonight. Probably tell us how this, that, and the next is something to look out for. But I'm just going to come out and say it. If you're looking for dynamite insight from me tonight, you might as well just go and do whatever you were doing before you came to this show, because I'm going to come in here and the only thing I'm going to do is tell you that this is about as sad of a baseball team as I've ever seen. And the sad thing is really maybe a few years ago we could argue that it was worse. But, Nick, I tried to buy you as much time as I could for whatever box score recap you're going to try to provide here. We have 2 games to go through. We're going to start with the second game, and we're going to go to the first game after that because the second game was so good to talk about.
Yeah. Fun show tonight. I don't know. We'll grind through this. You want to start with the DSC deep drive of the day?
Why not?
As bad as today was, Trace, we still had 2 options today. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. You know why? The only way we have options is because there was 2 games. Let's be clear. But the deep drive of the day is sponsored by DSC, and that is Deep South Commodities, and thank God they exist for helping us through this miserable season. But you know what? We did have one. Jonathan India homered for his 13th time of the season on a fly ball to left field. 108.8 off the bat. That's not a cheapie now. That's not a cheapie. 403 off the bat. That would tie the game 4-4 and would actually give the winning probability for your Cincinnati Reds a 56% chance. And as we all know, it would end up being 0 by the end of the game. But the deep drive of the day is sponsored by DSC, and they are a leader in renewable commodities, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And as always, thank you to our sponsors, man. Thank you to our chat. Thank you to everyone who supports us, because this is tough. This is tough. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I mean, this is not only do you have to invest the time in trying to come up with some semblance of an interesting take. But you have to watch today 18 innings of baseball against a team that you never beat, Nick. You never beat these guys. Like, you just – it seems like impossible at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Brewers are clearly quite a bit better than the Reds, but the Reds have also lost all those games that they actually had a chance to win too. So, like you lose the 5-4 game, that was the winnable game. This game, I mean, whether it was 4-0 or 14-0, was just a game the Reds weren't going to get.
Right.
So it just, the Reds haven't been able to win the game, the first game. I mean, that's where the Reds season has been won or lost. They just haven't won those games this year.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. David Bell is if he didn't have an extension on his contract, I think they would do it. Just as a scapegoat more than anything, and I don't know if it's I don't know what the problem is in Cincinnati. It's hard to figure out, but I mean, I have a semblance of a clue of what it is, but that's not really relevant, and I'm not going to discuss most of that. But realistically speaking, David Bell needs this team to play competitive baseball. Like, this can't happen. Like, this has happened. This 14-0, 13-2, 11-1 has happened a little too much over the last month. And I know that they've competed and they've played well. And last night they came back and won, Nick. But the pressure's mounting, I think. And sadly, I don't really know if he has anything that he can do about it. But it's just a shame that this team finds themselves in a position where they have no depth, Nick. This team is no depth. I mean, they just don't have enough. How many Major League Baseball players do they even have right now is the real crux of the issue, if we're being honest.
I mean, the pitching right now is just –
that's what I'm saying. Like
absolutely depleted. So, I don't know. I mean, if I don't really understand, like, if you wanted to fire David Bell because of what happened up until 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, like, I think that's fine. What's happened after that, I don't – why is what David Bell – what's happening have anything to do with David Bell? I mean, like, what manager is going to come out and inspire the Reds pitching to play better? I mean,
let's start the recap then. Let's start it up. You don't need to do a box score recap if you don't wish, because I can jump right into topic A if you want. And I'm not saying it's fair or not fair, but I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be people, maybe a little bit of myself included, that say, why do we have to baby everybody? Why does Rhett Lowder have to come out of the game? Can you let me know how many pitches he had thrown again? I don't want to misspeak here. You have that in front of you? Because I'll pull it up.
77.
So he throws 77 pitches, and he's given up a run, and you decide that's the end of the night. You don't think he could go 20 more pitches, maybe get through one more inning? Again, is that the difference in a game like tonight? Probably not, but I'll just openly say, Nick, you could start there. I mean, why are we always scared that guys might get hit or we might hurt their confidence? At some point, they're gonna have to do it anyways. So maybe it's just because it's his first time. Is that the answer? Genuinely, this isn't a bit. This is more me asking.
I don't know. I would imagine David Bell has absolutely just about zero participation in the plan of Rhett Lowder.
Okay.
Tonight, I'm
so
imagining.
So you're saying you don't think that he was told, hey, he's not allowed throwing more than 75 pitches under any circumstance? Or?
I don't think it's necessarily that he was like told. I think it's just that, like Derek Johnson's the pitching coordinator, so he's not just the pitching coach. He's for the whole organization. And I think they had a plan for Rhett Lowder, and I think the plan was probably for him, I don't know, not to go more than 80 pitches. This is a guy that calling him up was pretty aggressive. I don't know. I mean, Rhett Lowder hasn't thrown more than 88 pitches in a game all year. And like he got up to what did I say? 77. So he was 10 pitches away from his high for the entire season, or 11 pitches away. That's pretty standard with the way he's been operating all year. So I don't think that had anything whatsoever to do with David Bell.
I'm not saying, like I said, I don't know the answers. I'm just throwing out the devil's advocate to, why not let Rhett Lowder go out there for one more inning? He looked like he was, competing, throwing the ball relatively well, and you're already up against it with a depleted bullpen, and you played a doubleheader today, and it just, let me just open the, I don't think it's that big of a deal one way or the other. I really don't. But I will also say that it does seem like more times than not that we baby all of these guys all the time. I don't know, maybe it works out, but Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo and Graham Ashcraft and Connor Phillips and who else was pretty much through the ball last year, like Andrew Abbott. All these guys end up getting hurt. I mean, but we fundamentally baby them, or we try to hold their hand and make sure that they don't do this, that, and the next. And it's like, I'm just curious, Nick. And now this is me going out on a limb and saying I have no data to back this up, but I do wonder, because trust me, we've lived in society long enough, at least I have, that I've been told as a kid, I've been told that this is good for you and that's good for you and don't do this and don't do that. And then you come to realize after the fact that, oh, well, the science and the data wasn't right about this, or the doctors were wrong about that. And I just wonder one day if we'll ever get to a point where it's like, telling these kids that they shouldn't throw, so many pitches and they shouldn't do this or that and the next. In like 25 years, they're going to find out, well, that kind of is what led to some of these injuries or spike in injuries. And it wasn't so much the velocity as it was just the throwing programs and how arms have been treated over the last 10 years. We'll see. Again, I'm not here to say that I'm going to put all of my stock into that, but I'm also going to sit here and say that I wouldn't be shocked if that were to be the case as well. So that was a long-winded way of me saying a whole lot of nothing about maybe the Reds, but just in general, the way that people are handled, be curious to see how that all pans out.
Yeah, I think the Reds starters go as deep as any other team in baseball. I'm trying to find it here. Innings pitched per game start. The league average is 5.2 innings per start. Now that 5.2 is not like a 5 2/3 innings. It's a 5.2 out of like a normal decimal up to 6. So above that is Graham Ashcraft, Carson Spires, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Hunter Green. Hunter Green's actually at a 6.0. So he's pretty significantly above that Abbott. So, pitches per start, the average across baseball is 86. Hunter Green's averaged 102, Abbott's averaged 93, Spires 90, Lodolo 89. So I just don't think the Reds are babying their starters when you compare them to the rest of baseball.
Okay, fair enough. I like I said, and I'm not here to suggest that's the only issues, and I think most of the issues just lie in the fact that they don't have enough talent, and I think that that's probably the case. Speaking of talent, though, Rhett Lowder, obviously, he threw 4 innings. He did throw 77 pitches, as we just mentioned, gave up a run. I had mentioned right before we jumped on air, I didn't get a chance to see, of course, the first inning. I went back and kind of watched some of the highlights. I guess to kick it off, your overall impressions of Rhett Lowder, and caught a little bit of a break. Do you think if he didn't get the break in the first inning, do you think it could have spiraled out of control, or do you feel like he's old enough, mature enough that his stuff's good enough to get out of that jam?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He walked 4 batters over 4 innings. That's the most he's ever walked in his entire professional career. For him to work around that, something that he's never had happen before, was pretty solid. Striking out 6, that's pretty impressive in your big league debut. The Brewers aren't necessarily like a team that's, a high strikeout team by any means. So yeah, I thought he threw the ball well. I think the walks were probably just a culmination of nerves. After the first, he walked 2 kind of sporadically, so I think his command was fine after those first 2 batters that he walked. But yeah, I mean, overall, a solid effort from him. I don't really know what to expect the rest of the year, but I think it's good that he's kind of getting a taste of the big leagues and just gaining experience. I don't think that the Reds should pencil Rhett Lowder in to be in the opening day rotation. I think that he should, if he does, he has to absolutely force his way on. I think the Reds should have enough options that they don't need them. But at some point next year, no matter how many options you have, you probably will need Rhett Lowder. And I think he's definitely a pretty big piece of this future.
Did you love the comparison that he was given during the broadcast? Do you think he's going to add up or live up to the Justin Verlander type of hype that he was provided?
Yeah, I'm not sure I necessarily got that comp. That was an interesting comp among pitchers.
Yeah.
Verlander throws like up near 100, right, at times, or he has at some point in his career.
I'd say that was kind of his go-to pitch, was just throwing it right past somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's Lowder's maybe a little more crafty. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, what a wild thing that was, listening to that. But I don't know. At this point, hey, whatever you got to do to get through the game, you get through it. I'm not going to blame anybody at this point for having to do what their job is down there at Great American Ballpark. Carson Spires, he comes into the game, doesn't go maybe the way that he had hoped, and then that kind of spirals out of control. And Zuleta he throws 60 pitches in an inning, and the next thing you know, Luke Mailey's in the game, and it all is all for naught. But I just want to remind everybody, if the pitching staff would have thrown an excellent game today, it might have been all for naught anyways, Nick. So I don't want this to turn into, hey, let's talk about how bad the staff has been all day long. But I guess you have anything that you want to add from Spire's perspective?
No, it stinks to see him really struggling this bad. I don't really know what you do. I mean, you probably should send him down and let him get his confidence back up. But you're calling up guys left and right every other day that are just filler pieces, so you're kind of in a spot where I don't know. I feel like they probably should do right by Carson Spires and let him go down, and just maybe even if it's just like the minimum amount of days that he goes down there, pitches twice. I think he probably would get his confidence back up, and then you bring him right back up. But they're also in a spot right now where it's like, can you even? I don't know. Can you afford that? I don't know. But can you afford giving up this many runs every night? I don't know.
Well, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, if you're David Bell at this point, I think that the plan would be to try to pick your spots and say, hey, like, we're going to throw all of our best guys one night out of the 3 in a series, and hope that you can find a way to win. Certainly hope that you win the game that you throw all your guys in, and then maybe you sneak one out and your offense bails you out. Speaking of the offense, they get a pass more times than not, and I don't know why, because usually at the end of the game, we want to complain about a base running error, a fielding error, or maybe a blown save, or a couple runs given up by a reliever, and you look back and you lost the game 4-2, and the 2 runs is just not good enough. And tonight, they get 0. They scored 4, I believe. Was it 4 in the previous game? Can't get the Manfred man in. It's just that. They don't have I'm just gonna say it how I feel, and at this point, like, I don't know. It's really hard to make a show of a night like tonight. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I'm just gonna say it. They really don't have enough players to make this even really worth getting upset over. They don't. You can get mad. Oh, Ty France has got to do this. Rosario's got to be that. Rhys Hines has to be this. Even Spencer Steer from time to time, and Tyler Stevenson's playing great, and that's good and all. And listen, Ellie's been unbelievable. Marte's been a ghost. He needs to make that play earlier in the game, in the second game, Nick. I don't know what they scored it, but he's got to make that play where it's a kind of a hopping ball to him that when Lowder was still in the game. It's just I feel like, and I was trying to think to myself right before I come on the air, like what do I feel? Because I don't want people to think that I don't care, but I also want people to understand that I'm like a realist, and I'm not going to sit here and get over the moon about everything under the everything on a night like tonight. I feel like I've and if you have kids or maybe you've parented anything, like I feel like I've punished my kids. I've yelled at them. And I'm kind of sitting there the next day when they're still grounded in their rooms, and I'm starting to think to myself, am I feeling the way I should feel because there's some remorse that I feel, and I'm not even mad anymore at my kid? It's more or less just sadness. And I think that's how I feel about this team. I'm not mad anymore. I'm not mad. It's not that I don't care. I'm just sad about it all because they're not good. And they're not even close to good. And that's the sad part about it all. The Brewers catch a ball off the wall, Nick, right? Ty France hits a ball off the wall. A perfect symbolic thing. The difference between the Reds and the Brewers. The Brewers dude catches the ball, one hop off the wall, makes a perfect throw to second base. They tag out Ty France, who's hustling into second base. And you know what? You just hit a perfect ball right off the wall. And what do you have to show for it? Literally nothing. And it just kind of felt like that's a small microcosm of the big picture problem that is the difference between Cincinnati and Milwaukee. But I don't know if you have anything to add about the offense, but or maybe positive, something positive. I'm not trying to make this an all negative show, but it's just tough to watch, man.
Not a whole lot positive from the offense in Game 2, dominated by DL Hall. DL Hall's last start that he threw was actually against the Reds. Struck out 9, gave up 1 run over 4 2/3. Then he got optioned down to AAA and got called back up just for this game and threw a professional career high 7 innings. Had never done that even in the minor leagues. So congrats to DL Hall. Yeah. Part of the return for Corbin Burns. It's just, I don't know, it's weird because the first guy the Reds faced today, Colin Ray, has been incredible this year. Came in with a 3.61 ERA, having just a great year. And the Reds actually hit him pretty well, but then after that got, just absolutely dominated by the bullpen in the first game. And then DL Hall just had their number.
All right. Let's get to some more positive things on a really tough night. We got some nut cutters. We got 3 nut cutters on this show. I don't know if people hacked into their accounts. I don't know if it just popped up because they became nut cutters like some random time between the last show and our show, and it just shows up on the next show automatically. But Lindsay, Heather, and B. Keelman, all are nut cutters. Thank you for supporting our channel, and thank you for supporting this show. Gad Zooks. You ready for this one? Hot take. But honestly, I don't know. After tonight, Nick Krall should ask, is David Bell the Reds manager next year? If the answer is no, fire him tomorrow morning and let Benavidez be a lame duck manager. Gadzooks, I don't know, man. I really don't know, Nick. I say that with the exact meaning of the word. I think people think sometimes maybe, you say things on a show and you're just trying to kind of beat around it. You really don't want to. You just don't want to talk about the subject because you don't want to piss off one side or the other. I am 50-50 on David Bell. You could convince me that, you know what, he's actually the perfect manager for this group. Point back to 2023 and say, look what he did for the back half of the year. And the only time he's really struggled is when he hasn't had his full assortment of players, and that's not his job. His job is to manage the team, and when he's had a full roster, he's managed the team well enough to get themselves in a position to be contenders. Now, you want to argue whether that's good enough, I don't know. But point is that he's out-coached or out-managed his run differential, or his run differential, his winning expected winning win-loss record is what I'm trying to get at. He's out-coached that multiple times. So if you want to get mad because we don't have good enough players, then that falls on Nick Krall, which again, Nick Krall has been beloved on this show, but maybe he deserves a little bit of blame for what's happened this year. But point is, you could also convince me that David Bell is not going to bring any sense of fire and has not proven himself at all yet to showcase that he's capable of taking a team and doing something that we all hope, which is to win a playoff series and maybe win a World Series. But again, is it fair to judge him by that? I don't know. Nick, we've kind of bounced back and forth on this topic a bunch, but I think we're both in the same camp on this a little bit.
I just don't care. I don't care. Like, if they fire him, fire him. It doesn't change what the Reds will do in 2025 or not. It doesn't. It's a escape mechanism for this season to make people feel better. Coming into the season, I was a lot higher on Nick Krall in the Reds front office than I was David Bell. Like, I like David Bell, but I didn't think like David Bell was a reason for all the Reds' success. I thought it was the front office. Like, the front office, if you want to pass blame, is 1,000% more responsible for this season than David Bell. Right. So it's just, I don't understand why it keeps going to David Bell. It's such an easy, I guess, talking point, but I don't know. It'll make people happy though, so I guess I don't. But it just feels like you're appeasing people and not fixing any sort of problem.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and take us one side or the other. Pepper Westwood says it's a perfect day to settle this. Which hurts worse, 1-run loss or a 14-0 loss, or both in a matter of hours? Oh, it's funny. I'm gonna say the 1-run loss. I think I got to stand on. I'm gonna die on that hill. I think the 1-run loss hurts more. Yeah, I think that the 14-0 loss hurts only because you got to wait around and waiting to do a show. you're like, all right, can we start this show? No, you got to wait for Luke Maile to get 3 outs. But I'm gonna say the 1-run loss. And as far as it happening both in the matter of hours, that's the winner because that's a funny bit. So, Sean Krutka says if Lowder looks decent in the spring, he should absolutely break camp in the rotation. I'm over the Spires and AAA retreads of the world. This organization seems addicted to settling for mediocrity.
I don't think you should settle for either.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to put out whoever's the best players. I mean, that's the simplicity of the game. I mean, that's why sports are the best, is that it doesn't matter where you were drafted. Spires is a guy that obviously wasn't drafted. But you have Rhett Lowder, a guy that's drafted. But listen, let's face it, like, we all thought Connor Phillips coming into this spring was going to be a guy that we were excited about. He was an up-and-coming guy. He threw a couple times last year. He's young. He's got some velocity to him. And at the end of it all, it just doesn't work out that way. Like, this team needs better players, and the biggest thing is this team needs players that are going to develop and continuing, like, to find a way to have a sustainable system of good players that continue to develop, because the problem right now lies in the fact that there's a ridiculous gap between the big league roster that we currently have and the next crop of players that we can rely on from the minor league level to actually help this team win games. That's the problem. Whose fault is it? I don't know. Let's blame everybody. But that's the truth. And Chase Burns and Rhett Lowder, one of those two guys have to be an impact player for this team next year in some capacity. I'm not saying they need to be Cy Young Award winners. I'm not saying they need to be all-stars. I'm just saying even if they're a serviceable fifth starter for half the season, that is something. And it seems as if they drafted that specific position on purpose because they know it's hard to replace in free agency, and I'm hopeful this offseason they replace or they find some holes to fill through free agencies in other areas, and they're not going to go get a starting pitcher because, Nick, you want to talk about mediocrity, the only thing this team can get in free agency from a starting pitching perspective is going to be mediocrity. They don't have enough money to go and get elite level starting pitchers in free agency. So I don't know if it's a good plan, Nick, but it's definitely at least somewhat of a position that they're drafting these arms at the top of the draft.
I think they still need to go out and get a starting pitcher. I don't think they should go out and get a top tier starting pitcher, at least not someone that they have to commit, 6-7 years to, because that's such an easy way for this organization to get stuck with a really bad contract that will hamper them. But I think they do need to get a starting pitcher just because you don't have a lot of guys. And I know Tom Brenneman talked about it on his show today. I mean, no one's gone a full season in the starting rotation. So, I mean, to be quite honest, the Reds should bring in someone like Frankie Montas back next year just to kind of help fill that. And then I think you should pencil Lowder in to start at AAA. But again, he may end up starting on the big leagues because you might have 3 or 4 starting pitchers get hurt in spring training. The Reds didn't actually have that happen this year, but it does happen quite a bit. So, yeah, I think the Reds need to bring in another starter, though. I don't think they can just settle for all the arms they have, as they don't have anyone that's made it through a full season. I think Green's close. Like, I think if he could come back and make 2 more starts, I think he's close enough to where he could probably make that leap to be able to make it through a full season if he's able to stay healthy. But I don't think there's anyone else. Abbott's maybe in the ballpark, but I mean, Lodolo's nowhere close. I mean, if you're talking, pitching into October, I mean, you don't have anyone that's pitched through a full season.
I would just say I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon that they need to sign Frankie Montas. Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, and maybe it's because I'm on a night like tonight, but I just don't think that solves anything. I really don't. I mean, maybe he's semi-serviceable, can somewhat eat up innings, but how much better is he going to be than one of these quadruple A players? I'm not going to argue about it tonight. I really don't give a damn. We can have these debates in the middle of December for sure, but I'm going to tell you right now, Frankie Montas is the answer that this team needs. Just ship me off to freaking oblivion, and I'll come back when Rhett Lowder and Chase Burns are a little more seasoned, and you tell me that they're the 1-2 punch that are going to get us to the World Series. Because, I mean, it's Frankie Montas. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I could be wrong. Openly say that. And Frankie Montas will probably throw a perfect game tomorrow. Game time. If you're looking to get tickets, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to find tickets more affordable. And you can find them on the Game Time app tonight, tomorrow, this weekend. It is Labor Day weekend. Maybe you just get the family, round up the family. You want to go to the ball yard. Well, if you're going to do that, download the Game Time app today and use the code CINCY, CINCY. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Me and Nick love the app. Big fans of the app. And, if you've not used it already, then I would tell you that you just need to download it, put the code in, because you never know when you need it. You never know when you need it. You don't want to have to go try to find the app when you need it. Just download it now. Have it on the phone. If you need it, use it. If you don't, that's okay. But if you're going to use it, make sure you use the code CINCY, CINCY, to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. 988, as always, please use them as a resource when needed. And, this is the toughest show I've ever done. The toughest show I've ever done, because there's times to me that I really want to just go on a rant and start to get upset about things, but then it's like, I feel like I'm yelling about how bad, I don't know. I feel like I'm asking my kids to do calculus when they don't even know how to do basic arithmetic. I mean, I'm just asking too much of a team that doesn't have the goods. Simple as that. Game 1 recap. They did play 2 games today, and they did lose the first game as well, 5-4 in extras. Nick, you have a box score. You don't have to go through the recap per se, but maybe just run through a couple of the line items. If you don't have it, no big deal. But I don't want you to look at all this work this guy does. I mean, my God.
Yeah, I got to recap. I don't know if anyone wants to hear it or not.
I mean, I'll listen to it. I'm here for it.
All right, it was a back-and-forth game through the first 5 innings. The Reds' scoring came on solo home runs from Espinal in India and an RBI single from Ellie De La Cruz. Nick Martinez gave up a pair of homers and 4 runs over 5 1/3 innings. The game was tied after 5 innings, and both teams' bullpens were lights out. Reds got 5 outs from Buck Farmer, 3 outs from both Emilio Pagan and Wilson, and the Reds' best scoring chance came in the bottom of the 8th. Ty France smoked the ball off the wall, but it took a perfect bounce, and Brewers center fielder Garrett Mitchell threw an absolute bullet to second base to gun down Ty France. Reese Hines would then walk, but he got picked off. Game would go into extra innings. The Reds turned to Alexis Diaz to start the top of the 10th with a ghost runner on second. Bryce Tarrant laid down a perfect bunt for a single. Diaz got Sal Frelick to hit into a double play, but the go-ahead run scored. Diaz then gave up a very weak single, but then struck out Jackson Churio to end the inning. Ellie De La Cruz led off the bottom of the 10th against Devin Williams, who has absolutely owned the Reds. Ellie got ahead 3-1, and it looked like he took ball 4, but once again, Ellie got a poor strike zone. Ellie would end up striking out, swinging on the next pitch. Friedel would walk with 2 outs, but Ty France flied out to end the game. Reds fall 5-4 and drop to 11-25 in 1-run games.
11-25. It's getting harder and harder to convince myself that that's just a coincidence, but maybe it is, to be fair. Maybe it is. Espinal, India, you have it on the rundown. Espinal is a little scary again. Espinal, I thought, was perhaps hurt. India as well. I know you don't have him on there for this reason. You have Martinez in the bullpen first, so my apologies. I don't want to jump too far down the road here. Just skipped right down. That's on me. A hand up. That's on me. Let's jump into Martinez in the bullpen. Martinez gives up some runs. Bullpen finds themselves in a position where I even thought the Manfred man's an automatic run in my opinion, right, Nick? Like I don't in the 10th inning, I don't ever look at when that run scores as an issue. It's almost more or less like your offense should have to score that run. That's not really on the pitching staff. It's on the offense if you lose a 1-run game because you didn't score the Manfred man. I don't know how you feel about it, but overall, you give up 5 runs in a game, Nick. It seems like that's average. I'm not going to get too overly upset about the staff and or the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean it's normally you pretty much have to bank on getting that 1 run. I mean, I think if you're facing an absolute dominant pitcher like Devin Williams and even Alexis Diaz at times, not right now, you can't necessarily bank on that. And Diaz pitched pretty well. I mean, it was a perfect bunt single, not really much that he can do about that. Honestly, I didn't really like how far Espinal was playing back. I felt like he probably should have been playing in a little bit more. Might not have mattered, but I felt like maybe it would have gave them a better chance at that, knowing they're probably going to, bunt in that spot. Bryce Terang's got a sub 800 OPS. I think he's 4th in Major League Baseball in stolen bases. So he pinch hit in that spot, or he came in as a defensive replacement. I can't remember, but that was his only at bat of the game. So you had to kind of expect that he was bunting. Alexis Diaz got a double play, got out of the inning. And then, Devin Williams is just, he's as good as it gets. Just another unfortunate strike against Ellie De La Cruz. I thought he had a really good at bat working a walk off Devin Williams. Maybe it didn't mean anything because you still would have had to, get a runner in from second.
Yeah.
That really, I was about to say that really stung, but does anything really sting at this point?
Well, Ty France had a really good at bat too, right? I mean, like that's the thing. It's
thought of
10 pitch at bat. He also had a call. Devin Williams got another call to go his way in that at bat to Ty France, and it's like, hey, what are you supposed to do? Ty France battled, and it didn't work out, and like you said, I mean, how much we want to put into this from an X's and O's standpoint of feeling hurt that they lost. It's just ho-hum. It's just ho-hum at this point. It kind of feels expected. Espinal and India. India made a good double play. That was a good double play turn by him, by the way. I mean, he made a good feed to Ellie for that double play in extra innings. Although it did score a run, it just kind of felt like that was part of you'll take it, I guess, if you're going to make that trade. Espinal gets hit. I don't know. You thought maybe he was going to go down in the second game. I know we're talking more about the first game. Espinal's been
He
been
hit a home
really
run in the
good.
first game.
Yeah, but Espinal's been really, really good. I mean, I don't want to oversell Espinal, but at this point, I'll be honest. If you're going to tell me that I had to take a certain amount of players on this team and then automatically say, well, you got to plug him in next year, Espinal's on the team.
He's an absolute.
He's on the team, and
now.
Whether he's a backup because they find another infielder or what, but he's starting third base on opening day right now for the Cincinnati Reds. And if you'd have told me that back in the middle of, I don't know, call it what's a decent month, maybe the middle of June, I would have probably laughed about that. But here we are, and I'm actually not too overly upset about that.
Yeah, I think the Reds should go out and get a third baseman. I think it's a stopgap, like a veteran third baseman would make a lot of sense. Then you put Espinal on the bench. I think that would be a pretty solid roster, and I think Espinal is just the absolute perfect guy for you to be on your bench. He can sit there, and he's there when you need him, which, over the course of a 162 game season, you'll probably need him. But yeah, I mean, he's just since that like second week of May, he's been incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly out of all the guys on the roster. I mean, he's one of like the 4 or 5 that I feel really good about in their role. And again, the role for Espinal is a bench player that you use as needed. But I think he's absolutely solidified that. It was good to see India hit a home run. I mean, he's really been struggling in the second half. It'd be nice to see India have a big September, just because, like, right now his season is sub 700 OPS in April, sub 700 OPS in May, 1,000 OPS in June, then sub in July, sub in August. It'd be nice to see him, have one more good month to at least balance it out. And I don't know what you do with India this offseason. We've exhausted that, but it would be nice to see him at least as an offensive player, finish the year strong, because he hasn't really been terrible either. Like, they're all sub 700 OPS, but there's none that have been below like 640. Like, his floor hasn't been as bad as some guys as we've seen on the team, where, I mean, their bad months have been absolutely atrocious. He hasn't really had an atrocious month, but he has only had one actual good month, and it was an incredible month.
Yeah, I just don't know what the market is for India regardless. And at this point, I think you're gonna head into 2025 with best case scenario, he's gonna be playing a corner spot in the outfield, or he's gonna play, which I don't know if you play, but you're gonna get slotted in the DH role. But the problem is this team already has a DH if everything goes well in Jeimer Candelario. So, I don't know. It's sad at this point where the Reds are, but maybe here's what I'll say from a positive perspective. As bad as things feel right now, I would also say the same opportunities of regression from last year to this year that seemed very obvious. There seems to be an opportunity of growth from this year to next year from so many players. And again, are they all going to have breakout seasons? Are they all going to play better than they have this year? No. But let's face it, there's a lot of players that can significantly help us next year that have done little to nothing for us this year. So that's a positive. But again, you got to go from almost last to first, or you got to go from, 20 games below 500 to 8 games above 500. You got to make a pretty sizable jump for it to matter, Nick. We'll see if they have that in the cards. But we'll find out. All right, Reds MILB. That's at this point seemingly the only competitive baseball left in this organization. And after talking to you briefly here before the show, it sounds as if things aren't going all that well in that direction either.
No. not dire by any stretch of the imagination. Everything went final like after the show started, so it's always kind of
Well, you're good.
Uphill to
Where,
try to
where
catch
can you
up
where
on
can
'em.
you where can you listen to the full rundown of the Reds MILB, Nick? Let them know.
Full rundown will be in the podcast tomorrow. I'll just run through a couple things real quick. Louisville, they're actually tied 5-5. They're in a delay in the top of the 10th. Kind of been a wild game back and forth. Louisville is one loss away from tying their franchise record 12-game losing streak. So they would obviously like to get a win in that one. Jacob Hurtubise hit a home run. Actually looked like it was hit pretty well, so that was good. He's got 2 hits just coming back, so that's good to see. Chattanooga, they actually won 2-1. They avoided that 84th loss, which would be their record since they rejoined, and you'll be happy to know, Trace, Austin Hendrick got a hit tonight. Nice. Dayton, they lost 7-2 to West Michigan. But they got a break because Great Lakes lost, so they still have a 4.5 game lead with now 8 games to play. So they're still playing well, but they play 6 games at Great Lakes next week. So I said on the podcast this morning, if they can get to next week with a 3-game lead on Great Lakes, I think they'll be okay because they only have to win 2 out of 6. I don't think you want to get into next week where you have to split a series on the road. If they can get to that, that'd be good. I believe I kind of was on a real rabbit hole last night. I believe they would lose the tiebreaker to both teams simply because their tiebreakers are going to be tied, which is head-to-head. And then the next tiebreaker is your last 20 games. And obviously, if Dayton blows a 4.5 game lead, they're going to have a worse record than the other team in the last 20 games. And then we did have one that actually did go final earlier that actually have some numbers on, although there's not a whole lot of good stuff. Daytona, they lost 4-1 to Palm Beach, but they got a break too. The team chasing them lost, so they have a 4-game lead with 8 games to play, so they're still sitting pretty well. Sammy Stafora was 0 for 3 with the walk. Ricardo Cabrera was 0 for 4. Eastman Pineda did get on base twice, 1 for 3 with the walk. And then Cole Schoenwetter, another tough outing for him. 4th round pick last year, 3 runs and 3 1/3 innings pitched. But as bad as his numbers have looked this year, some of the people I really trust tell me to still believe in him and his stuff. So I don't see it from what I've saw, but
right.
There's some people that have some hope there. So
all right. Well, we gotta have hope. You gotta have hope. You don't have hope, you get yourself in a really dark place. And you know what? There's always light somewhere. You just gotta find it. It's been tough finding it lately. If you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, I can tell you that. But they do play more baseball, believe it or not. They're going to allow them to play tomorrow. We got who, what, when, where, and why. Got a familiar face, though. That's going to be a positive. That's going to be something to watch.
Well, tomorrow's going to be interesting, Trace, no matter what, because the Reds will be going up against Frankie Montas. If they rock him, that'll be interesting. If they get dominated, that'll be interesting. Montas, 2-1 with a 3.33 ERA in 5 starts since joining the Brewers. And the most interesting thing is this will be the first time that Frankie Montas has ever pitched against the Reds. He had never pitched against the Reds coming into this year. Montas, of course, 1-5 with a 4.50 ERA in 9 starts at Great American Ballpark. Ty France, though, has owned Mr. Montas in his career, 6 for 14 with a pair of doubles. And everybody's favorite Red, Dom Smith, has a homer against Montas as well. Reds, as they are just about every night, are TBD. I don't know who's left. Junis, has he got enough days off?
I don't know, man. Bullpen resources on Fangraphs. That's the only chance you got to figure this thing out.
Evan Kravitz, they saved him. They were going to bring him in, and then they gave up all those runs. Like, yeah, let's save him for tomorrow. So, I don't know.
Isn't it funny how it just all depends on when you catch teams in the regular season? Like there was a time where this Reds team you just didn't really want to play because they were fresh, young, energetic, and you just it was going to be a tough series. You didn't expect to win the series, or you would be happy if you won the series, and you wouldn't be surprised if you lost, and you just would be thrilled to death if you swept. But then maybe obviously if you get swept, you'd be upset. Point is that right now, if you see this Reds team on the schedule, you got to be thrilled to death. I mean, are there any teams that I know the Braves? What teams that are actually going to play some meaningful games against this team that caught a break?
Well, the funny thing is the Braves and Mets are kind of chasing each other, but the Mets play the Reds 3 times in September. The Braves play the Reds 4, so they'll kind of get the payoff, and then I guess the Cubs, the last 3 games of the year in Wrigley Field, they're probably the only other team. I don't know, maybe the Astros, but didn't the Reds get swept by who's in first place in the AL West? Who am I forgetting out there? No idea. I don't know. They all run together, man.
The AL West, the Mariners.
The AL West. But the Reds got swept by the Mariners, so I mean, the Astros aren't really necessarily getting a break because the Mariners already swept the Reds. So
it's fair. Good point.
The Twins, they're kind of still in, but the Royals swept the.
Yeah, the Royals swept the Reds.
They
all swept the Reds. They all swept them, but maybe not. Hey, I was trying to give us a little benefit of the doubt by saying, you know what? If you played the Reds early this year, you got to be pretty pissed off if you see a division rival going to get to play the Reds now. Turns out, hell, nope, it was still easy pickings for everybody else.
It would have been what you were saying was totally accurate. If it would have been like the problem is the Reds played everyone in the NL West.
The Yankees or someone like that.
Well, if the Reds had like 6 games against the Diamondbacks who are chasing the Dodgers right now, the Dodgers like, yeah, now you get to play these guys, and
right.
we played them earlier in the year when they were playing great. So what you were saying was accurate. Just the schedule just weird.
Just didn't work out. Yeah. Hey, it was A for effort.
It was a good thought.
Yeah, I tried. I really did try. What a weird situation too tonight. I tell you what, VMix is struggling. Is what we'll call it. All right, folks. Chatterbox Bearcats. Chatterbox Bearcats. By God. Hopefully they'll have better time than us. Take care, everybody. Take care. See ya, everybody.